Alright, new adventure. My videos are going to try to reflect my real life a lot. I don't want to do a lot of editing. I'm not going to sit in front of a computer and do a ton of editing just to make everything look all nice and pretty. So if I get interrupted, I'm going to pause the video. If I get a phone call and I feel like I have to answer it, I'm going to pause the video. If my better half calls me, I'm going to pause the video. So that's the way videos are going to work for me. Now, I do a lot of mail-in repair, a lot of restorations, a lot of work on older radios, as well as the new ones. This is an old 138Xlr that was sent to me for essentially a restore. The guy wants this to be a radio that he will hold on to and even use, either base or mobile. So here we go. First thing we're going to do is hook it up to a supply and see exactly how well it works or don't work. These old 138s were really hot radios in the day, and it's really the only difference now is that they're older. They're 30, 40 years old now, and they're always in need of something: cap replacements, repairs, alignments, you name it. This one's in pretty nice shape, actually. No major bad dents or flaws in it. Some of the knobs are a little messy, so let's just see once what it looks like. RF gain's up, squelch is off, volume, turn on the power, and we do have power, albeit a little shaky. And there you go. Let's get on the antenna and see what it does. That was my antenna switch, which is back here. I'll do a video at some point that shows the bench layout and how things work, so those that decide to watch get a better feel for what I'm doing here. It is receiving. You can tell the volume control is real dirty. Squelch control is also dirty. So I must assume that all the controls are dirty, switches, everything. So yeah, I'll plug in the mic and see how it works. It's looking well used. It is on a 90-degree connector. Hello. Let's see if we can get some more mic gain. Hello. Hello. Definitely a little low on power. Let me show you here. These are actually my 3-watt motors that I use. This one's on a 20-watt scale. That's a 30-watt scale. And this one is on a 100-watt full, well, 30-watt full scale. That's where I have it setting. Hello. Hello, hello, hello.
728 Mobile, Kansas, Southern Cal. You copy 627 Central Indiana?
That's really bad. So it is transmitting. Let's see once. We'll go to dummy load. Turn up the volume here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Hello. 1, 2. 1, 2. 3, 4. Hello. 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 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello. Alright. The voice rack is not modified to work on both receive and transmit, so we'll have to do that as well. See if we can beat it against this. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello. Alright. It seems like everything is functioning. It'll certainly work a lot better if you notice the meters. Hello, hello, hello. The one on the bottom's about 8 or 9 watts. Oh, the one on top also about 8 or 9 watts. And the one on the right about 8 or 9 watts. So all three meters confirm that is only producing about 8 or 9 watts on the sideband. Alright, we're going to take her apart and start the process. I'm going to put you on pause for a little bit. Alright, we're back. Let me adjust this out a little, get a better view maybe. I kind of built a rig for my camera out of an old magnifying bench light mechanism. I'll show that off one of these days, but right now this is kind of sort of my premiere entry into the video world, which, by the way, this is what the case looks like. I'm just using the light from the overheads, the overhead LED light here to light everything up. So you can see these old radios. This had a plastic cover that covered the whole inside to prevent any possibility of shorts or anything. This is what the board's looking like. Not bad at all. There are some modifications in here I see that are not factory as I recall them. Take the top off. One of the cool things about these older radios is just how solid they were. Good heavy metal for the cases. The speakers mounted on another internal mounting system that keeps you from having to disconnect it, but we're going to have to anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and do some other dismantling here, and I'll be right back. Okay, it's really hard to catch what I'm trying to show. These are the screws in the side. The one on the left I buffed to such a brilliant shine that you can see yourself in it. It's really hard to make it do it justice, I guess, with the camera, but you can see the one on the right, that's one of the originals. The one on the left is an original too, but after buffing it, well, just whether you can see it or not, it looks beautiful, like it's brand new. Alright, so we're back to this. Got some interruptions there, like I told you I would probably get. I'm going to remove the speaker wires because we've got to get the speaker housing out of our way. Move that to the side. Deal with that later. And now I got a special little rig I made up here some years ago. That, actually many years ago, I used for working on radios. Very handy gadget. Easy to make for everybody. It simply works with some mounting knobs. Two goes there and one here. Just makes all kinds of procedures that you have to accomplish on the radio much easier when you have a way to move the radio around a little bit. Hold it in a position that makes sense. So what we're going to do now is we're going to clean all the controls and switches. Now these in this radio just happen to be in all kinds of positions here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but This one is pointed that way, so you have to come at it from this direction just to clean it. This one, not so much, but you have to get the cleaner down in the shaft in order to get anything inside of it. And there are other ways, but they're a lot more involved. And these other ones are pretty much going back and forth this way, except for this control, which also we'll have to get from the other side. So in light of that and the fact that we're going to be redoing this anyway, I'm going to go ahead and remove the faceplate and the knobs. So I'll do that, and then I'll come back. I fired the camera back up because I thought maybe you would like to see if you have never done radios like this and you're thinking about doing it. Sometimes the knobs on these old radios are on really tight, especially the old split shaft radios. So this radio here is no different. So I take a piece of cardboard to lay it up against to buffer the screwdriver against, so it doesn't mar the bezel any more than the bezel's already got some old war marks on them. Nothing really bad though. Like I said, this thing is a really nice shape. So I just use that. And if you use a knife, be careful. I use a screwdriver. I've done this 15,000 times. Just careful about how you pry it, because you still can break a knob and you can scratch it and mar it. In which case there's no repairing that. And if you don't have another knob to put on, it can become an issue. But there they are. These here too, they usually pull off pretty easy. Always pull these shaft washers with it, because if you lose them, they can be very hard to come by. The little thing that makes it, little spring-loaded thing that makes it possible for the knob to actually fit on the shaft tight. Alrighty, we'll be back. Alright, I just got the 4 screws that are on the side that hold the bezel on, faceplate bezel. So on these old radios, the LED for the transmit light is mounted and glued into that spot. So yeah, LEDs really don't go bad hardly ever, but they have. That's another story. This one is okay, so I'm just going to unplug it and put this to the side. And we'll show you here what kind of shape it's in right now, and then we'll show you later how it turned out. I can get it a lot cleaner than it is, and looking a lot better, but we'll see how it turns out. All the knobs and controls now are much easier to get at without the bezel in the way. So I'm going to go ahead and clean them. You use like many people do. This isn't all I use, but it's convenient and handy, and it is good stuff. We use the Oxit D5, and we do use a lot of it. So first we'll spray a little in there, and then we'll work the control back and forth. We'll hook this up here after we do this and get a feel for what it did. I don't know what it is with this particular can. For some reason it decided to start leaking on me, but it's so expensive I don't want to not make as much use out of it as I can. On these, it's really hard to see. Let's see if I can get this to where you can see it. These kind of controls have a, you're not going to be able to see that. I'll have to figure out a way to show those better. They have a shaft. The shaft that comes through them comes up through the center of the wafers and stuff, and out the back. There is room there where you can get some cleaner in, but it can be messy, but it's also necessary. So I usually spray a few sprays in there, and I let it go down in and run down in as much as I can, and then work the switch. Some of these switches can be hard to work, so I'll put the knob partially back on it. This is the mode switch, RAM upper and lower sideband. Very important that it functions properly and it's clean. Now we got to get to the other side to get the this other control, which even I'm having a problem seeing with all the light I have in here. So we can get at that from here. I'm going to line this up on it, and I'll put my hand over here so I don't spray my spectrum analyzer and digital scope. And we'll work that around. Alrighty. I'm going to go ahead and do some cleaning of these shafts. Got a lot of grit and grime on them. We'll go ahead and clean the switches as well. I'm not sure how my audio is coming out on this because I'm just using an S10 Plus Note, an S Note, or what do you want to call it, a Galaxy Note Plus. And I'm using the internal microphone on this, so hopefully everything will come out all right. And you'll be able to hear me. If not, you'll have to turn your volume up as high as you can to hear me. Alright, I'll try to talk a little louder just in case it's not registering real well. I got everything cleaned except I didn't clean these two switches yet. These little controls here are too hard to get at because they're too low profile and too small. So I'm going to go ahead and back this out along with the other one and at least get it to where I can spray some cleaner in them. Yeah, that's a much better situation. And I'll be able to get cleaner in there. This one down. And we'll be able to get some cleaner in there as well. Again, I don't want to spray fumarator into my equipment. I almost did it the last time. Yeah, that actually worked out well. Alrighty. And we can wipe them around. Let's reset them so they're in there tight. Lots of time-consuming effort goes into covering all your bases with these old radios and making sure that you're not leaving anything undone that will result in having to take it back apart, because that happens. Alright, those are all done. I noticed in the process here that the meter is stuck. I will deal with that later and show you how I go about loosening that up. Hopefully loosening it up. and getting it working again. Alright, I'm back at it again. Like I said, you'll have to get used to the fact I get called away a lot. Anyway, I just sprayed the slide switches, and all this is the noise blocker A&L and the CBPA switch. The meter I haven't bothered yet. I will get around to that later. I'm just now paying attention to all the things I think need paid attention to. Attention to minor details. After all, when this thing is fully assembled again, we want it to look as good as it's able to be looking. And meter is definitely going to have to be looked at, though. Alright, I have this is an okay insert for a lot of radios. It's not as good for this wide body radio I'm working on now, so now I'm going to switch the bracket to one that's more suitable for this kind of radio. So this way I can use my spacers that will, at least on one side anyway, make for a better situation. I think go ahead and use this one over here. Tried to design the brackets and size them in a way that would make them work for almost any radio. What I was running into is this was rubbing up against this on the other bracket and making it really hard to run around. And the option with this one is the bracket's not as high, so it's in the design that I'm going to make another bracket like this and make it higher, but this works all right.